Dear students, welcome to this online class. Hope you are spending enough time for your studies at home. Spend sufficient time for your studies. Today, we will read and appreciate a poem, A Tiger in the Zoo. This poem conveys the message that wild animals must be allowed to live in their natural environment. And in this case, the tiger should be allowed to live in its natural habitat. Let's now read the poem and appreciate it.
The poem, A Tiger in the Zoo, is written by Leslie Norris. And this poem brings about a contrast between a tiger's life in the narrow confines of a zoo and his life in his natural habitat of a forest where he wanders about without any restrictions. The theme. The poem brings forth the idea that it is unfair and unjustifiable on the part of men to enslave and entrap the wild animals and to impose on them a life of bondage and confinement. Let's now read and appreciate the poem. He stalks in his vivid stripes the few steps of his cage, on pads of velvet quiet in his quiet rage. Let's look at meanings of a few words. Stalks means walks. Stalks means walks or pursues. Vivid means bright. Vivid means bright or prominent or noticeable. Rage means anger. Rage, anger. We'll read the stanza once again. He stalks in his vivid stripes the few steps of his cage, on pads of velvet quiet in his quiet rage. This is the opening stanza of the poem, A Tiger in the Zoo. And here the poet portrays a tiger, a beast of the forest, confined within the cage in a zoo and its restricted movements in the cramped space. With his striped body, which is his identifying mark, he moves about in the cage, but the small space allows him to take only a few steps. His feet, with velvet-like pads, pace around without creating any sound, but he is full of rage, anger, as he has been separated from his natural habitat and bound in the cramped space of the cage. He does not roar or cry, but remains silent in anger. The poet implies that in the restricted space, the tiger has suppressed his emotions and basic temperament. Therefore, he does not roar in rage as he is expected to do. Let's do a few questions. What are the two qualities of a tiger mentioned here? Tiger has clear stripes and paws which are soft and padded. So these are the qualities. Tiger has clear stripes and paws which are soft and padded. The second question, why can the tiger walk only a few steps? The cage is very small and cramped. It provides only a little space. So, the tiger can walk only a few steps because the cage is very small and cramped and it provides only a little space for the tiger to walk. The cage is cramped and it has only a little space. Let's move on. He should be lurking in shadow, sliding through the long grass near the waterhole where plump deer pass. The meanings: lurking means lying in wait, and plump means slightly fat. In this stanza, the poet pities the enslaved tiger and contrasts his life in a zoo with what would have been in a forest. He suggests that the cage is not a proper place for the tiger. The tiger is a wild animal who is supposed to live in the forest, which is his natural habitat. Usually, while in forest, he moves around in the shadows of the thick, dense trees, hiding behind some bushes or long grass near a stream or waterhole, waiting for its prey. As soon as he sees fat deer or other animals coming there to drink water, he slides gently through the grass, attacks them, and kills them. In other words, the tiger should be left in the wild to hunt and gather his own food rather than be fed by the zoo authorities. Look at the significance of the words lurking and sliding. Lurking and sliding show the stealthy movements, the secret movements of the tiger when he is on the lookout for his food for himself. This stanza conveys a message to us. It suggests that wild animals should be left free and they should not be deprived of their natural habitat. What should the tiger be doing? The tiger should be lurking in the dense vegetation of the forest and moving stealthily to pounce upon the prey if he finds one nearby. We move on. He should be snarling around houses at the jungle's edge, baring his white fangs, his claws, terrorizing the village. Snarling means growling with teeth bared. Fangs, it is a tooth by which an animal holds, or tooth used for biting and tearing flesh. It's a long tooth used for biting and tearing flesh. Terrorizing means scaring someone or intimidating. Terrorizing means scaring someone or intimidating. In this stanza, the poet continues with the description of the natural habitat and the natural behavior of a tiger, which he is deprived of when imprisoned in a cage in a zoo. In his natural state, the tiger should be running around near the houses at the edge of the jungle. He should be growling in his low, intimidating voice to terrify the people. His dangerous, sharp teeth and claws should be sending fear in the hearts of people living in the village on the outskirts of the jungle. Villages bordering a jungle. The poet uses the word should be in the first line here to present the expected natural activities, and behavior of the tiger in a forest from which he has been separated while enslaved in a zoo. The tiger terrorizes the villagers. His snarling, his sharp teeth, and threatening claws would terrorize the villagers because the tiger is a beast of prey and could assault the villagers. We do a question now. How would the tiger terrorize the villagers? The tiger's snarling, his sharp teeth, and threatening claws would terrorize the villagers because the tiger is a beast of prey and could assault the villagers. Let's go ahead. But he is locked in a concrete cell, his strength behind bars, stalking the length of his cage, ignoring visitors. Let's see what these lines mean. Here the poet contrasts the life of a tiger in a wild forest to that in a zoo. He stops imagining the tiger's alternative life and returns to its real one, that is, in a zoo where he is locked up like a prisoner within a small cell made of concrete. All his strength to frighten people is suppressed as he is forced to live behind the bars, unable to assault and frighten people. Thus, the poet says that the tiger's strength is locked behind bars. Hundreds and thousands of people come to the zoo every day to see the tiger, but he does not pay any heed to them. He does not notice them. He resents being an object of public entertainment and therefore shows indifference towards the visitors. Instead, he prefers to walk quietly in the limited space of the cage by himself. This stanza begins with the word but. It signifies that the creature who has the capability of frightening men finds himself left helpless behind the bars of the cage in the zoo. So, the helplessness of the tiger is shown here. Why is the tiger locked in a concrete cell? It is locked, the tiger is locked or captured and captivated and put in a cage in a zoo and a concrete cell to keep him away from other animals and visitors. The tiger has two disadvantages in the zoo. The first one is he is not able to move free like in a natural environment. Second, his movement is restricted in the space of the cage. What two disadvantages does the tiger have in the cage? Firstly, the cage doesn't let the tiger live a free life in a natural environment. Secondly, his movement is restricted in the cramped space of the cage. We move on to the last stanza of the poem. He hears the last voice at night, the patrolling carts, and stares with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars. In this stanza, the poet describes how the tiger remains disturbed at night. He stays awake till the very last voice of the zookeeper locking up and going home can be heard. All night, the zoo authorities keep a watch over the surroundings while driving in their official cars. The noise of these patrolling cars represents the civilized world, which stands in sharp contrast to the medley of sound in a forest. So the tiger keeps staring at the beautiful stars shining brightly in the night, which for him represent the free world of nature. Thus, the poet again takes the reader to the cage where the tiger is sitting in the cage and feeling unpleasant and restless. He hears the sound created by the patrolling cars. He shows no interest in them and stares at the shining stars with his brilliant eyes. The poet raises a moral issue here. He intends to present a strong case against the cruelty on animals, which are kept in cages. The message. The poet conveys the idea that wild animals must be left free to enjoy in their natural environments. A wild animal enslaved and put in a cage in a zoo is not only deprived of the freedom in the jungle, but also of his natural essential self. Therefore, man must let them lead a natural life in a natural environment.
Students, I hope you understood the poem. Everyone longs for freedom. Nobody likes confinement or solitary life. The same way, the tiger, which has the forest as its natural habitat, must be allowed to live in a forest. And that's what the poet tells us in this poem. Let the wild animals be allowed to live in their own natural habitat. Study the questions and answers sent to you and prepare well for your examination. All the best. Stay safe.